So thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate that. I'm going to spend the next 20 or 30 minutes talking about three areas. So first of all, I want to give us all an update on the budget and the personnel situation that we have all been so deeply engaged in these last several weeks. Then I want to turn to the topic of quality and excellence, which is in such abundance at this university. I'm going to have some others help me on that particular topic. Then I want to turn to the future and how we're going to move forward from where we are now, building this great university to the best of our abilities. So that's sort of the outline for the day. So let me start with the budget and personnel situation. And I want to begin this topic by acknowledging what a difficult situation this has been for our campus. This has been a very difficult thing for all of us to go through, whether it's the people making the decisions, the people affected by the decisions, or just every member of our campus community and our surrounding community, in fact, Missoula and beyond, and in fact, entire Grizz Nation. People have been aware of what we have been working on here, and it has been painful. No question about that. I want to say thank you to the people who have been working so diligently these last several weeks, going through the agonizing work of making these decisions. I want to say thank you to the people affected by these decisions. Thank you for the service that you have given to the University of Montana. And I am deeply regretful that a few of the folks in our community won't be here with us in the future. Again, very painful process, but something that we had to go through. So where have we ended up in all of this? So we have, going into FY17, next fiscal year, we have adjusted downward our employee base by 192 full-time equivalents. 192 full-time equivalents. That's a little bit lower than what I suggested in November, but pretty close to the same, 192. Of those 192, 23 of them represent people who are actually being laid off. You otherwise would have expected to have a job here next year, and who won't. The rest of those FTE, 14 additional, are people who have had their percent time reduced by some significant amount. The rest of those FTE reflect open lines in many cases. They reflect pooled positions of part-time work in some cases. They reflect people who otherwise were planning to retire or otherwise leave the university, and a variety of composite positions like that. So that decrease of 192 FTE positions us going into FY17 for a student to faculty ratio of 18:1, and that was what I set forward in November as our goal. And in fact, that is what we set forward 5 years ago in our strategic plan, to have that student-faculty ratio, 18:1. And it sets us up for a staff-to-faculty ratio of 1.4:1. Both of those ratios are reflective of what public research universities in this nation have, not as a hard standard, but certainly as a practice. If you look around at institutions around the country, those ratios are very common, and we are fitting right in there. Those ratios are designed to make sure that we continue to provide a high-quality education for our students, the opportunity for our faculty and staff to engage in research, and to make sure that we're providing the services to all of us, all of our community, that are needed to run a great university. So that's where we have ended up. What does that mean in dollars? So if you take those 192 FTE and add up the dollars that they reflect, it comes out to just shy of $8 million. Going into FY17, with all of the things that we need to do and we need to accomplish, we are actually looking to prepare a budget that accounts for a reallocation or a movement of about $12 million. So we're 2/3 of the way there in this personnel adjustment that we have just done. And that's basically where we're going to go with the personnel adjustment. The rest of the budget adjustment going into FY17 will be comprised of a number of factors, including some savings in things like utilities, benefits, and so on, and some other reductions. And we are looking probably at a 2 to 2.5% reduction in non-personnel operating budget of the university. So with that, we'll go into FY17 having prepared a responsible budget and one that reflects the matchup between our revenues and our expenses. We have no other option but to do that. Now, I want to touch on the matter of fiscal responsibility. So this has been a difficult process, adjusting our personnel base downward to match our student enrollment at this particular time. But this does not reflect anything other than the highest level of fiscal responsibility. And I want to give you a couple of indicators of that are completely independent of anything that we're saying here at the university. Yesterday, I and several others from the university and around the system were in Helena attending a meeting of the Legislative Audit Committee. That's a group of legislators staffed by something called the Legislative Audit Division. And every year they prepare a financial audit of the institutions as well as other state agencies. There were actually 2 audits under consideration for us yesterday, or relevant to us yesterday. So one was our financial audit of the University of Montana. We came through that audit perfectly cleanly, not one single recommendation. It is a totally unconditional audit. And so that means through this independent, objective analysis that things are okay in the sense of financial responsibility. That's one data point. Also yesterday in that audit meeting was a second audit really of the Montana University system, and it was looking at really the level of administrative support and expenditures in the Montana University system. So the Legislative Audit Division prepared an analysis, a very detailed analysis of what we spend on non-instructional. So this is everything besides instructional costs at the university, which includes administration, but it includes contract professionals, staff, and so on. They compared us to a set of 10 other institutions that they picked. We didn't necessarily think that that was the right set, so they said, well, you pick a set. So we did. And we picked a set basically of flagship institutions in the region and around the country in relatively low population states, a set that we've been using pretty regularly for comparative purposes. That audit, that independent audit, showed that in non-instructional expenditures, we are lower than all of the members of our peer set, and we're even more lower, if that's right, than the set that the Legislative Audit Group picked. So we are, if you want to say, administratively more lean than any of those peer institutions in that data set, and more lean, in fact, than Montana State University as well. So I just say that not in any kind of defense of our staffing or anything like that, but to reassure you that we are being responsible as a university community, making sure that our resources are dedicated to the functions that they should be, primarily instruction. And so over 50% of our resources go to instruction. Then another independent analysis came in really just within the last few days. Mike Reed informed me that every year or every 2 years we go through essentially an audit or an analysis by external agencies really concerned with our ability to bond, to fund projects, and to essentially go into debt, if you will, through bonding. So Standard & Poor's is one of those. You've probably heard of those. And Moody's is another. And so they do this very detailed analysis of our financial situation. Standard & Poor came out and gave us what is called an A+ stable characterization. Moody's gave us an AA3, AA triple characterization. Both of those ratings are very high, very favorable, and both of them are unchanged from what we have seen these past several audits by those same firms. So those are two independent characterizations, the legislative audit and those independent analyses that indicate that, yes, we are being financially responsible and we're operating with sound business practices as we have to do and as we should be. So throughout all of this, as difficult as it has been, I believe that we can look ourselves in the face and say that we have been educationally responsible and we have been financially responsible.